Good afternoon, Silicon Valley. Guess what? We have an amazing human who I met yesterday at Startup Bootcamp at Thai. Welcome, Subodh. How are you doing today?
Oh, hey, I'm doing good. Thank you, Vince. It's been wonderful to meet you, to meet the rest of the people at Tiecon. It's a great gathering which I can see here. I'm really privileged to be here. So thank you, for meeting me, giving me time today, and getting to learn from each other.
Absolutely. This gentleman is amazing. Let me introduce him in my way. Although he is the Director of Innovation at Government of India, and he's going to talk more on that. But I'm here to introduce him because I met him yesterday at a ground level, at the level where he was sitting in my table at a mentor boot camp, and he was an amazing listener. He listened to almost every single thing. And I was very much intrigued by his personality, his mindset. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I run into him again and I figured out, God, he's the Director of Startup Innovation in Government of India. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. And I think, should I hold? Well, I think when we talk about the people who are the vibrancy level, I think our role in the government is to identify such vibrancy and such events where the people can get the energy from, from the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And that's a great place. When you said I'm listening to your startups, it's actually I'm gaining from their knowledge. And that's what we take it back to our ecosystem back in India. Let me tell you, India is land of opportunities. All we know.
Yes.
It's now an ecosystem of the technology startups is growing like a phenomenal rate, right? And within the government, there's a clear focus that these startups should not look into the problem which are locally available, market which is locally available, but learn from the people, especially the Silicon Valley, which is the pioneer of the startup ecosystem, right? And that's what we want to learn. So I'm happy to bring the 23 best startups, this cohort, to this, to the Silicon Valley, in this program. But this is just the beginning.
Yes.
We are looking not 23 to should go to 2300. They should not come once in a year. They should probably come here whenever they feel like and meet people like you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And again, once again, welcome to Silicon Valley. I'm going to ask him a little bit to formally introduce. This was my introduction, which was like more friendly, more founder friendly, and more Silicon Valley style. But let's get to the root actually. What exactly you do, where you belong. Tell the audience you flew all the way from back home, right? So give some office details, your little background, professional background. Thank you.
Sure. Well, my name is Subodh Sachan. I'm Director of Software Technology Parks of India. I lead the Startup and Innovation Ecosystem Drive of Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India. What we do within the, when we say to lead the drive, we have come out with the, multiple strategic initiatives, right? These initiatives which can identify the startups at the grassroots level, identify the startups pretty early in their game, identify good bunch of entrepreneurs who could be in the first journey of entrepreneurial journey, right, for them, right? When we identify them, what can we do next with them? And I think what we have done within the Government of India initiatives is give them what is required the most. What is required the most is in the form of, getting to meet them with the mentors, right?
Yeah.
Getting to, learn from the people who have done it, right? And that's just the beginning. But while they know what needs to be done, the mentors are there to guide what needs to be done. The next question is how part, right? How will they do it, right? And so what we have done is, in India, across locations when I mean, across the hubs of the startup ecosystems, whether it's Bangalore, whether it's Chennai, whether it's Delhi, whether it is Pune, whether it's Hyderabad, and even the emerging hubs, whether it's Jaipur, whether it's Vijayawada, Mohali, Chandigarh, right, Bhubaneswar, you name the city, and we have established the what we call as centers of entrepreneurships, right? These are the modern incubators. People will come in, meet people, learn from other startups, and start doing their early prototyping. We have given them the world-class labs right now across India. And the government has been very keen and wants to do more of such promotions. So we have set up a lab called Automotive Lab.
Okay.
Anybody who's doing anything in the EV space, anything doing self-driving vehicles, even the cars or the drones, right? I mean, they can come and make use of our labs. Anybody, let's say, who's doing something on the agri-tech, because this is a emerging field, or anybody is something trying to do on the health side, I mean, they can come and sit in our labs and meet and develop the prototypes. So this is second intervention. The third intervention, what we do within STPI, by the way, STPI is headquartered in New Delhi, but offices all across India, right? The third intervention which we are trying to do is enable them the access to funds, right? Some of the access to funds comes from the community.
Yes.
Community of the angels, communities of the venture capitalists, right? And these people who would like to invest, who would like to identify startups early, let's say in some cases, or even late in most of the cases, right? But when they want to invest, they say, hey, what is it government is doing with them? So what we have brought in is that some investment from our side. We do grants, we do investments in startups, but primarily the objective of our investment is not to maximize the returns, right? It's objective of our returns. Our investment is to maximize the opportunity for their success, right? That's what we do, and then that's what when VC sits with us, say, hey, we will take the risk, you take the carry. All right. So that's the reason why the co-investment model is really progressing very well. We launched a program called Leap Ahead. Leap Ahead, as the name suggests, it's like launchpad for the entrepreneurs who are advancing to the next level, right? And in the Leap Ahead, we ran with TIE, and TIE has a phenomenal, ecosystem of the people, right? I mean, that's the intellectual capital which TIE brings in. I mean, you are part of TIE event today here, Tiecon Silicon Valley. It's good to see such a human capital, intellectual capital, being actively now working to do what? To promote the next batch of people who can be the job creators, who can be the innovators, right? And we partner with TIE. We said in government we know we can define programs, we can design programs, we can bring the funds. But when it comes to sometimes getting right set of people, we do not have that bandwidth, right? So it's good to partner. So what in STPI we did something called collaborative way of working together. Whether it is industry, whether it is associations, whether it's a group of people, we collaborated with every one of them. And today here, while we collaborated with TIE Silicon Valley, I'm trying to discuss with how can we collaborate with TIE DC. How can we collaborate with TIE Boston? How can we collaborate with other chapters? And no, not limited to TIE. How can we collaborate with the, let's say, the other ecosystem players, right? And objective is not our gain. The gain which can go back to India. And gain which can go back to the entrepreneurs who are working in India. I mean, in government we have always the vision to support, thousands of startups, right? And thousands of startup support cannot happen when an organization wants to do it on its own. It can come from the ecosystem. And as a government, the role is always to be the ecosystem enabler, right? And that's what we do. So I'm happy to lead that. It's been almost 7 years since we started initiating this program. I came from the world of startup myself. I came from the world of multinational companies myself. I was earlier exposed to the US and to all other countries, right? But after certain years of working with the private ecosystem, I realized that I can probably be more useful if I go and join the government. And that's probably the calling came, and then I went to and I'm happy to see, batch of 23 startups which are here. Each one of them is, phenomenal in their what work they are doing. I mean, you talk about startup which is, let's say, doing the healthcare diagnostic at the level of village, at a fraction of cost. Imagine, one country like 1.4 billion people country, they need the access to healthcare and affordable healthcare, right? And if we can support one of these or tens of these, and I think there could be phenomenal impact, right? This is from the impact story, but it's just not the impact. They have to make revenues, they have to grow, they have to become unicorns, right? So we're trying to build, foundational layers across each of them, and seeing how they can, be the winners of tomorrow.
Beautiful. So guys, if you notice, I had a very different and interesting view of government of India, in general any government for God's sake, but I ran into you and look at his story. He's first a great storyteller, which we all learned yesterday in my table and other tables, that how you tell the story.
You have to.
And he is a great ecosystem enabler. I love that word, ecosystem enabler. He himself is an entrepreneur, and I personally feel that he has nailed everything. Look at the 3 objectives. The number 1 objective you mentioned was mentorship, right? The second, I think you said labs, and the third is funding. That's exactly our idea needs to be nurtured. Correct? So you have nailed everything, and your background is fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm letting you know, I met him yesterday in my table. I had a corner table in the thing, and he was like very actively listening, very engaged, but I couldn't connect. And today I tapped him, and he says, "I am director of
STPI,
STPI, which stands for
Software Technology Parks of India.
Stand
Software Technology Parks of India.
Software Technology Parks of India is a long thing. But however, we got to know Subodh as a ground reality, as a true entrepreneur, enabling entrepreneurs, making the government of India interesting. He wants to collaborate, and I love him, love him, love him, because my first startup was only based on one thing. When you have nobody, you have partners.
Ah,
I was two-man company and I had 24 partners. So I exactly understand what you're coming from, a collaborative mindset. So what is the future? This is my final question. What is the future you want to envision with either Tritai, with other incubators? How can we help you?
Yeah. But before that, let me tell you, I think the man in the room was Vince yesterday, right? I mean, it's like that's energy which you brought in the room to yesterday. And it's great meeting you, Vince, today. I mean, it's great meeting you, knowing you. And the fact that, you have the same passion sitting inside Valley, that let's do something back there, right? It's good to see, good to connect with people like you, and we invite all set of people to come and participate in the next journey, the journey which is actually transformational journey which India is undergoing right now, right? I mean, our Honorable Prime Minister have said we are looking for Viksit Bharat vision altogether, right? Viksit Bharat will not happen without bringing and getting all of them to the level. No, so because if a country of 1.4 billion people can move forward together, then imagine the impact, right? And that will happen because of the diaspora which has been doing things, right? I've been here in US for way back in 2000, 2001, right? And I can see people like you even then, who had spent 20, 25 years, right? But at that point in time, there's a difference. They were all engaged in building their life, their family's life at that point in time. But today, that's not the case, because you have proven yourself, you have brought in your families, everybody's happy, everybody's achieved. Your goal is now, how do I bring my value back to India, right? So that's what we look forward to within government. Let me tell you our vision with this startup ecosystem, right? See, what we have learned, in what we have done so far, I mean, there is a lot to be done inside India, but there's a lot to learn from outside, right? And that's what we have started building now. So we have started in the leap ahead. We introduced the third pillar we call, and that's a fourth pillar in our ecosystem, a global connect, right? How do we bring a global connect with them? How do we bring a global connect at the time when it actually makes a lot of difference for the startups, right? When I say time, right, if they are doing prototyping, if they are doing product development, or they have just found product market fit for India, how they can do the product market fit for market in US, right? And that global connect is important for their next level of journey, right? India has had its share of success, right, in terms of startup ecosystem, and this needs to be repeatable and replicable, right? And how do we do that? That's our aim. This is not our story of one startup, two startups, 100 startups, 100 unicorns. That is what India has already achieved. Now we're talking about thousands of them, right? And we need to still see, because if you see the ecosystem across, right? Number of startups getting churned out of Silicon Valley is much, much larger and much more impactful today what India does, right? And if Indians sitting in Silicon Valley can do that,
why not there?
Why not there?
Absolutely.
And that's where people like you, the community is outside, is going to be helpful. And that's our vision at the next level now. That enable a Global Connect program. Global Connect, which is as powerful and as available to each one of them. It's India is a democratic country, so everything has to be democratically available equally to everyone. And that requires a work which has to be in terms of numbers, it has to grow to a level that anybody can access anyone here, right? That's our vision, and we'll achieve that.
What I learned from today about him and his initiative, that he has presence in 65 states, for God's sake, which is double than actual number of states. So you have 65 plus locations. So how many types of food do you eat?
Oh well, I mean, India is a diversified country, right? India has, so much of diversity that my 65 centers are also less, and we'll soon have 80 centers. Let me tell you, and out of these, we have transformed some of them to be the centers of entrepreneurship, right? And that's what we want to ensure, that each one of them is focused on some areas, like My one center is focused only on technology of AI. My other center is focused on technology of blockchain. My one of the centers focused on sector of automotive. My one center is focused on sector of financial technologies, and that's a power which is there in India right now. You be in Chennai, open a fintech center of entrepreneurship, and you got a bunch of startups to support, right? And so that's the power which India has done. So we want to ensure that there's a good mix of, I'll say cocktail of all the fruits can happen, but each can get its focused intervention as well. Right? That's what we are doing.
So in Silicon Valley, we have actually a lot of panels and a lot of talks on diversity. Here comes a gentleman who runs this. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm making one commitment today in front of you and in front of Subodh that I'm going to spend at least 1 hour a week,
So nice. Thank you.
minimum, just because of his energy, enabler. He is a man who knows how to run this, and more than anything, he's just startup friendly, and he is very humble, constantly learning.
Thank
So
you.
Subodh,
Thank
we
you.
welcome you again in Silicon Valley, and really appreciate you having with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Vince, and thank you for the generosity of giving 1 hour back to India. I think so nice. It was great meeting you, and let's continue to meet again and again.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Best wishes for your stay here. Thank you.
Thank you.